It's fantastic to be here. I was down in, our organization is all hazard, so I wear a lot of different peril hats, okay? And I have no favorites. Actually, I have a favorite. It's flood, right? But yesterday I was down at the National Hurricane Center because of the dubious day on the calendar, and we were all talking about how we're doing and what we're doing. We did a news conference, and I came back up here last night and I redid my slides because the point of what we all do together, obviously first and foremost, is what we do in this room and what we do around the lab and all the things we figure out. But I don't think there's ever been a time that was more critical to get the message out the door, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about Flash, and the reason I do that is because there's nothing that we do alone. Everything at Flash is about collaboration, and since we're nonprofit, everything we have is yours as well. So I'm going to give you about half of the talk. I'm going to just show you the things we've been up to. And if it looks like we're, prepared to hop on one foot and do whatever it takes to get the message out, that would be true, because that's what it takes. And then I'm going to spend the second half of my talk dedicated to focusing on Texas. I'm sure that after Memorial Day, all of us were thinking, okay, I'm headed to Atlanta. How does the Texas situation change what I'm going to say? So I've done that as well. We have a very intense project in Texas, and I think it's important for us to take a look at it because inside that work, there's also an opportunity. So just for catch-up purposes, am I pointing it to the wrong place?
Point it towards the back of the room, I think.
Tried that. There we go. All right, just a little tutorial on us. Just in case you didn't know, because we don't fit a typical mold, we're not all the same at Flash. We started as a volunteer committee in the post-Hurricane Andrew era. We were all trudging around Miami. In my case, I was working for Allstate, leading a claims team. And there was a volunteer group, and we came together, and the Red Cross was feeding people, and we were cutting checks, and the Hurricane Center was forecasting more hurricanes, and everyone kept saying, hey, who's got the building code? And nobody raised their hand. Flash was formed to get that building information to the consumers in a reliable way that was non-commercial and constant, okay? The committee turned into an organization, and we have kind of come a long way since then. It is a very exciting thing to be able to be in a position to work for almost 17 years in pursuit of one single goal, and that's the goal. We need people beyond you, beyond the professionals, beyond the experts to care about what we all do, don't we? Because it doesn't make any difference if it isn't taken all the way to the ground, whether it's in a building code or a choice in how somebody buys or builds their house, or even just, getting that shelf ready in the pantry like we were talking about down in Miami yesterday with peanut butter and jelly and water and pet food and just these basic things that become very critical when bad things happen. So we're very excited to be in the position we're in. We work with everyone, okay? We have legacy partners who have been with us and founding partners who have been with us from the very beginning. As you can tell by looking at that, it is a true spread of public, private, and nonprofit. Very excited that several years ago we partnered with you. I had been attending and participating and benefiting from all the work that you guys do. We have at Flash for many years, but we formalized our relationship because we've got to keep the information flowing in both directions, right? So that's kind of the stuff about Flash, if you didn't know us already, and if it's got you scratching your head, welcome to the club. It's okay, because it's not a typical model, like I said, but it's a pretty potent one. We're kind of small in size as an organization, but we're very mighty because of the voices that we speak through, okay? So here comes the question. We've gone from in '98 talking about only mitigation, and we still have to do that, but we've evolved to this place of resilience, right? Mitigation is one level, and then we kick it up a notch when we talk about resilience, because resilience is the whole community, and it's not just to stem the damage as best we can and be disaster resistant, which we spent years focused on, and that's a building block, so we still have to have it. But resilient means you have upped the definition of success. You have to survive, you have to recover, and you have to come back even better, right? So what are the things that make us a strong, give us the propensity for resilience? First and foremost, we have to have our building codes and standards, right? We have to have someone who can operate a clicker. Nope, just kidding. There we go. This is a biggie. This is where Flash spends a lot of its time because as much as we'd like to assume this is the case already and that leaders automatically get it and value what you do and they're going to put in the floodplain regs and the free board and all the things we want to see done, there's a lot of turnover and there are a lot of priorities out there in the world. A lot of social causes, and guess what? They're all as worthy as ours. So we're competing for attention with these folks as well as the consumers. We have to have higher education so that the first time, we don't want the first time someone hears about a building code to be when they're building a house or buying a house. We want a select group of professionals to have an even more enhanced understanding of the importance of building codes, and we want them to have been exposed to codes during their educational track. So we do a lot of work. We have an online building code course. It's at Clemson now and several other engineering departments, but we want to move beyond engineering. We want meteorologists and architects and emergency managers and construction professionals. We want them all to understand, not teaching them about the plumbing code, but why the codes matter so much. If we can get them at that point, and we've done a lot of work around this that we could talk about in Q&A, then we have a much easier path to resilience. We need incentives. They matter. You know this. Where would we be with the community rating program without some of the incentives that save people money? Getting the leaders on board, what Florida's trying to do, what Brian Kuhn is trying to do there. We need those discounts and credits to come through. We need innovation. We have to think differently. We're pretty good at that because of the spread of our folks. And then, of course, we need research, and we need to perpetually weave that research into the mix. So those are the essentials of safe and resilient communities, and as soon as we get all those done, then I get to retire, right? So how the heck do you divine across all these needs with some kind of strategy? We do it in these 4 buckets, all right? So I'm going to run you through the little menu of things that we do in the spirit of exposing you to the opportunities that we may have together or information that you may need that you can then take. So starting with leadership, we can put on our I think the battery's a little low on this one. If y'all have a backup, there you go. We do a lot of writing. For years we did a lot of talking, and what we've realized is we got to get this stuff into the record, right? If I want the mayors to understand and act on something, they need something to work with. So we've committed to putting things into the record. I actually have a commentary due yesterday that's coming out very soon, where we're trying to take everything you teach us and all of the cases out in the hinterland in places like Texas or Memphis and others and get them into the record. Because if we don't, then these stories and these lessons and these challenges that people are experiencing across the country, they don't realize they're not alone. If we can surface the best practices through policy commentary and different things, then we can start getting ahead of ourselves. We started doing this because as I've been out there, and I'm out quite a bit, I heard people say, oh, we got the building code thing done. None of y'all said that because you know better, right? But I heard a federal agency head say, well, I think 80–90% of the US has good, strong building codes. Very, very upsetting. So we're putting it into the record. I have a blog. It's a ball and chain, but I have it. And we're just trying to make sure that that's out there. And I love guest bloggers too, so send me your stuff. Okay, another way that we're trying to get the leadership piece of this done, is training for our electeds. We've partnered with the Florida League of Mayors. We just did the first ever Resilience Symposium for them. This will also be a national workshop for the mayors. And here's the fun part. They have Mayors University for all newly elected mayors and re-elected mayors. We are going to design the curriculum for them. We will have flood in there. Because of our partnership with you, it will say what you want them to know. okay? Underneath, all right? All right, so demonstration projects come through partnership. This was a big one. How many of you guys have seen this little documentary, The Tale of Two Homes series? This is on our YouTube channel. We do this a lot. We go out and find families. That one doesn't work, Diane. I did that. I think it's a battery. I hope. Thanks, sorry. When we see a mega disaster happen, what we have learned is while we're focused on the building performance and the structural success or failure, we also need to tell the story through the lens of what happens to the people. So we go out, we have a story track called A Tale of Two Homes. We have the hurricane, the tornado. Our storm surge story was from Sandy, and it's about this family as you see them standing on what was left of their 1940s bungalow in Superstorm Sandy, looking at the house next door where they retreated during the storm to survive, and then they turned around and filmed their house being blown away. They survived, but they stayed home because 9 pets, right? And it had never happened before. How many of us were on the ground after Katrina and heard that about Camille? We thought Camille was the worst that could ever happen. This is an exciting project in that it looks like we're going to be doing a rebuild. And any minute now, when the homeowner is finished putting all the pieces together, and yes, he had flood insurance, we will be beginning a demonstration project that you guys can also be a part of to tell the story. Because to tell it to the rest of the world, it has to be shared through the eyes of the people. And that's what the Sohaki family could do. Our signature project is Stormstruck, A Tale of Two Homes. How many of y'all have been to Stormstruck? Couple. All right, well, here's the fun part of my job. Because I work with Disney and we have a 3,000 square foot exhibit in Epcot, you guys are all invited. Anytime you're in Orlando as an individual or with an organized group, part of my job is to make sure you come and see Stormstruck as our guest. How fun is that? I do have an update for you. We did just cross the 5 million mark in guests. It is an edutainment experience. It is a dynamic movie, 3D glasses, little squirts of water, storm stops in the middle, you rebuild the house in the neighborhood, you learn stuff, but you don't realize you're learning because you're wet. No, just kidding. Because it's fun, okay? Funniest thing ever to the Disney PR people is that in 2009, we had a little bit of real estate in part of the post-show area. And our messaging, we work so closely with FEMA as a founding and legacy partner. They were like, oh, we really wish flood was in Stormstruck in a bigger way. And we said, hey, we have a wall. So we had a wall that we put up to flood where 5 million people have now traipsed past. And usually they're waiting for their kids to play one of the little kids' games in the post-show, and they're seeing subliminal messages there. We've done a lot of media around it, and we test Stormstruck with our academic partners. We've got Carnegie Mellon in there right now. It works, guys. When we built Stormstruck, people said, that's kind of silly. You know, this is a serious topic. I said, well, I'm not a very serious person. So if we're going to get this done, we got to get out there in the world, and here we are at Disney, and it has been very successful. Some of the things that we've done lately, we have a new website for the kids at Stormstruck. We have new teacher resources developed through the STEM academic partnership, downloadable. They're all up there right now. This is where I really put my job on the line, and this is where I'm going to play a quick video.
Last House Standing is the ultimate design and disaster challenge. You'll have 3 minutes and $100,000 to build a house that strikes a perfect balance between stylish and indestructible. When it's finished, we'll unleash Mother Nature's wrath, and whatever's left will be judged on flair and survivability. First, start by picking the location of your dream house. Just remember that whatever region you choose to build in comes with its own potential for weather havoc. Next, from walls to windows and landscape to man cave, pick the features that will make your house not just a home, but a sweet fortress. Finally, when you're done building, push the challenge button to see if your house measures up. Track your successes and dominate the Master Build-A-Board with your best scores. Challenge yourself and challenge your friends to see who will have the last house standing.
So this is our kind of wowie thing that we're introducing this year for the new audiences. We've taken a lot of the FEMA research. If you saw the August 2014 report on preparedness and the social psychology research, what it tells us is we better do some things differently because we're missing out on one of the most signature audiences, which is our 18 to 34-year-olds. And guess what? They game, okay? So we've developed this game. I game one game, Scrabble. Anybody? Last house standing we were going to launch this week, but because of Texas, we decided it would be insensitive to game about flooding until some time has gone by. So we will be launching it officially in about 10 days. We have tested this as well. The beta testing was off the charts with the target audience. Funny part, we beta tested it at the National Hurricane Conference with the people my age. I was at the big insurance conference and I showed it, and about a room this size, and I said, okay, how many of you guys do social gaming online? And like, Dr. Rick Knapp, one guy. It was it. So, okay, it's not for us. I'm just going to put it out there. But it is going to work. It is going to get people. There's only one educational nugget that we really want the takeaway to be, because the rest of it has to be about the game. We hired our now retired Disney Imagineer to stand in front of us and say, no, you can't do that. You're trying to give them a semester. We just want them to be having some fun. We just want them to know one thing, that how you build matters. That's all we're trying to get across. But here's the fun part for you guys, I think. It's in the store. So we're in soft launch. It's you can download it in iTunes. It's iPad and phone right now. And as soon as we work through all the feedback, which is so far excellent, we'll put it together for Android, and it'll be available for the public launch. We were going to try to model, because I work with engineers, and we like predictability, and we hate uncertainty, right? How do we get in this job if we hate uncertainty? We were going to try to model all the outcomes, except that there are more than 10 million or 100 million. I mean, there's so many features in the game that it's impossible. So download it, check it out, let me know what you think. I can tell you that these guys love it. And we're going to change the way people think about it. We're going to have a generation of folks that go, oh yeah, I guess that matters if I do a little lifting up of my home in a high flood zone, okay? Bottom line, like I said when I started, is collaboration is everything to us. There isn't anything we do that isn't part of what you do as well. 11 years ago, the Weather Service came to us and they had this idea called Turn Around, Don't Drown, and they couldn't really get it through the approval ranks, let's just say. So we joined forces. We told them, blame it on us if somebody doesn't like it, and now the Turn Around, Don't Drown program is out there. I will tell you, when I think about last week, and I think about Turn Around, Don't Drown, and the way it's been kind of steady, I think that's something we all need to get together and kick up a notch for next year, too. I'd like to see a major investment in Turn Around, Don't Drown messaging, PSAs, and assets and tools for all of you that are out there so that you can use it. We also just introduced If Disaster Strikes, Will You Be Covered, which is our most popular download with more than 1 million. It's got a nice cut of all hazard insurance information, including flood. I talked about flood in the news conference yesterday, and I asked them, do you all realize that flood is not covered as part of ordinary homeowners? And a lot of people gave me a blank stare. So that message needs to be out there, as you know. 30-day waiting period. Now's the time to talk that too, but I'm telling you what you know, okay? So let me show you a video about the other half of what I'm going to talk about.
Hi, I'm John Zarella. So what is the Texas State Collaborative? Well, the best and the brightest in the public and private sectors have taken a look at the variety of hazards faced by the folks in this wide and diverse state. And they've analyzed the building codes to see which ones are good and which ones need some work. I'm here in Houston. You want to know how Harris County stacks up? It's in here, along with many others.
On the home page, you'll find the cities and counties we've analyzed. You see them laid out there. Let's click on Arlington-Tarrant County, for example. There are 2 boxes below. One describes the most likely weather risks, in this case hail, flash flooding, and tornadoes. Flip through the pages and you find available incentives for mitigation. The other box provides a detailed look at building codes with an amendments chart. This chart details where we believe amendments strengthen or weaken the code. The section in green indicates where we believe the code is good. Yellow is the IRC, International Residential Code. Now look at the red section. This is where we see a deficiency. For example, you see recovering versus replacement. The next box over gives you the amendment. Alongside that is the impact and finally our recommendation. As you look through the pages, there's valuable information including links to other resources, graphics for strengthening the home, and ratings for building code enforcement. The Texas State Collaborative is an invaluable resource with 3 specific goals: increase public safety, foster modern, strong, state-of-the-art building codes, support effective enforcement.
New organizations are joining the collaborative all the time. If yours is not in here, it should be, because the bottom line is, it's about public safety. I'm John Zarella.
How many Texans are here? Roy, Michael, are you here? We have been very fortunate in Texas to have the best partners come together for this collaborative. We formed it because we all heard, we all participated, we all opined that the codes in Texas are a problem. But before you can fix a problem, you have to define it. And the code system in Texas is very complicated. So in 12, we put together a very diverse group and a policy analyst and a team, and we started looking at Texas codes, and we've learned a lot. We also looked at weather. The National Weather Service gave us half the formula, which is the top perils, as you saw in the guide, and the other half is just the top-of-mind building code issues. There were some constants there I'll talk about in a second. We have had some really nice early wins with the Texas State Collaborative and things that have spun off where people, just by bringing the diverse group together in one room, some ideas have popped up. The Texas Public Council for Insurance collaborated with the industry that, let's just say, Dia hasn't always been in a love relationship with the industry that she works with that way, but they got together and passed a hurricane tax holiday. So there have been some great things coming out of the collaborative along with the information. I talked about the information here, and what you'll see is the reason we went so granular is because you'd think that if you have a senator or a staffer from Fort Worth that they'd know about the history of hail in Fort Worth. I would think that I would be wrong. This is how basic the challenge is that we all face. We don't have to get fancy. We don't have to do anything too exciting, except with millennials, apparently. We just have to give them the information that they need. Because guess what, guys? They don't know. We have to put it on their radar. When you look at the codes, one of the disturbing thing about Texas is there's a grand misperception because of what the laws allow. There's a huge hole in Texas, and that is because of the counties. How many of you guys are familiar with this problem? The Texas counties can adopt a code, but they can't enforce it. So yesterday, and I put this up here at the risk, I don't want to offend anybody, but I want to make the point of how urgent this is. This is a quote from an article coming out of what just happened last week, where a Texas expert is saying, well, they're doing better because, you know, Harris County took advantage of the statute and adopted the code. Yes, they did. But in our analysis, which did the A to Z, including interviewing the code officials who were tasked with enforcing the code, we were told, no offense. We know what it says on the internet. We know what it says we have. We do not enforce a residential code. We don't have the legal authority. So the opportunity in Texas is to take this collaborative, double back around together, and talk about what are we going to do in the Texas counties. The sad news is that we just missed the timing because they meet every other year and they're just wrapping up the legislative session. But I think we need to get together in Texas, make the case to leadership that it's time to give the counties of Texas the authority to enforce a code and a floodplain reg, and what they need to do to protect the families and the communities to be resilient. That's my talk. I will be available during Q&A. I'll also be here all day today. I want to thank you all for everything that you do. I know that even being here this week in light of what's going on in Texas has probably been a challenge. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you out there in the hall.